I was sitting in my favorite armchair, reading the morning paper, when I heard footsteps pounding up the basement stairs. Heavy, fast footsteps that didn't sound like my grandson Tyler at all. The basement door slammed open so hard it hit the wall, and Tyler burst into the kitchen looking like he'd seen a ghost. His face was white as fresh snow, and his hands were shaking so bad he could barely hold onto the doorframe. Sweat was dripping down his forehead even though it was a cool morning, and his eyes were wide with pure terror. I'd never seen the boy look like this in all his 16 years. "Grandpa," he said, his voice cracking like it did when he was little and scared. "Pack a bag. We're leaving. Right now." I set down my newspaper and stared at him. Tyler had been staying with me for the summer while his mother, Rebecca, and her husband, Kevin, worked on their marriage problems. The boy had been spending most of his time in the basement, working on what he called a history project about our old house. I'd given him free run of the place, happy to have the company, and proud of his interest in family history. "What's wrong, son?" I asked, getting up from my chair. "You look like you've seen the devil himself." "Don't call anyone," Tyler said quickly, grabbing my arm. His grip was tight, desperate. "Please, Grandpa, don't call Mom. Don't call Kevin. Don't call anybody. Just trust me." I was confused as all get out. Tyler was usually such a calm, sensible boy, smart as a whip, and never one for dramatics. But here he was, looking like the world was ending, begging me to pack up and leave my own home. "Tyler, slow down," I said gently. "Tell me what's got you so spooked. What happened down there?" "There's no time," he said, already moving toward the stairs. "I'll explain everything later, but we have to go now. Pack clothes for a few days. Don't take anything valuable. Nothing they'd expect you to grab." They? Who was they? But something in Tyler's voice, something raw and frightened, made me trust him. This wasn't a prank or teenage nonsense. The boy was genuinely terrified, and in all the years I'd known him, Tyler had never lied to me about anything important. I went upstairs and threw some clothes into an old duffel bag, while Tyler paced around downstairs like a caged animal. I could hear him moving things around, and when I came back down, he had a backpack stuffed full of papers and what looked like computer equipment. "What's all that?" I asked. "Evidence," he said grimly. "Grandpa, I found things in the basement, things about Mom and Kevin, things they've been hiding from you." Before I could ask what he meant, my phone started ringing. The caller ID showed Rebecca's name, and I reached for it automatically. Tyler lunged forward and grabbed my wrist. "Don't answer it," he said urgently. "Please, Grandpa, don't answer." The phone kept ringing, that annoying tune Rebecca had programmed for herself. When it finally stopped, it immediately started ringing again, then again. Each time, Tyler's grip on my wrist got tighter, and his face got paler. "Tyler, that's your mother calling," I said. "She's probably worried about you." "She's not worried about me," Tyler said bitterly. "She's worried about what I found." My phone buzzed with a text message, then another, then another. The calls kept coming one after another. Rebecca, then Kevin, then Rebecca again. In 15 minutes, I had 12 missed calls and 8 text messages. "This is crazy," I said, looking at my phone. "They're calling nonstop. Something must be wrong." "Something is wrong," Tyler agreed, "but not what they're going to tell you." He was stuffing more papers into his backpack, his movements quick and nervous. I noticed his hands were still shaking, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Fear, yes, but also a kind of adult determination that seemed too old for his young face. "Tyler, you're scaring me," I admitted. "What did you find down there?" "I'll show you everything once we're safe," he promised. "But right now, we need to leave. They know I was down there. They know I found it." The phone rang again. This time it was Kevin calling, then Rebecca, then Kevin again. The sound was starting to make me nervous too, like some kind of alarm that wouldn't stop. "Why won't you let me answer?" I asked. If something's wrong, maybe I can help. Tyler stopped packing and looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for his 16-year-old face. Grandpa, what I found in that basement, it changes everything. Everything you think you know about Mom and Kevin, everything they've told you, it's all lies. That's a serious accusation, son. I know, he said quietly, and I wish I was wrong, but I'm not. The phone rang again, and this time Tyler just turned it off completely. The sudden silence felt almost worse than the constant ringing. We need to go out the back, Tyler said, shouldering his backpack. Don't let anyone see us leave. I grabbed my duffel bag and followed him toward the back door, my mind spinning with questions. What could Tyler have possibly found in my basement that would make him this afraid of his own mother? What kind of evidence was he talking about? As we reached the back door, Tyler peered carefully through the window. His face went even whiter, if that was possible. What is it? I whispered. Mom's car, he said. She's here. And she's not alone. I looked over his shoulder and saw Rebecca's blue sedan pulling into my driveway. Behind her were two other cars I didn't recognize. Dark sedans with tinted windows. Who are those people? I asked. Tyler's hand was already on the back door handle. People who don't want the truth to come out. We slipped out the back door just as I heard the front doorbell ring. Tyler grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the old garden shed, moving faster than I'd seen him move in years. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give out, but Tyler's grip kept me focused. This way, Grandpa, he whispered, leading me behind the shed and toward the woods that bordered my property. I scouted this route yesterday. Yesterday? That meant Tyler had been planning this escape before whatever he found in the basement today. The thought sent a chill down my spine. How long had my grandson been preparing for us to run from his own mother? We made it to the tree line, just as I heard voices from my front yard. Rebecca's voice, high and worried sounding, talking to people I couldn't see. But even from this distance, something about her tone seemed off, too practiced, like she was reading from a script. Tyler led me deeper into the woods, along a path I didn't even know existed. For an old man who thought he knew every inch of his property, I was learning a lot today. We walked for what felt like forever, my legs aching and my lungs burning, until we reached an old hunting cabin that had been abandoned for years. How did you know about this place? I asked, breathing hard. I've been exploring all summer, Tyler said, pulling out a key. The owner died 3 years ago. His family forgot about it. Inside, the cabin was dusty but dry. Tyler had obviously been here before, because there were supplies stacked in one corner, water bottles, canned food, even a battery-powered radio. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment plan. This was preparation. Tyler, I said, sitting heavily on an old wooden chair, you need to tell me what's going on, right now. He set his backpack on the table and unzipped it carefully. Inside were dozens of papers, photographs, and what looked like bank statements. My bank statements. Grandpa, what I'm about to show you is going to hurt, Tyler said quietly. But you need to see it. He spread the papers across the table, and I recognized my own handwriting on some of them. Except, I didn't remember writing any of these documents. There were withdrawal slips for thousands of dollars, signed with my name. Property transfer forms I'd never seen before. Even a will that wasn't the one I'd written with my lawyer. Where did you get these? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. From a hidden box in the basement, Tyler said. Behind the old furnace, in a space I only found because I was measuring the room for my project. Mom and Kevin have been hiding these there. I picked up one of the bank statements. It showed a withdrawal of $15,000 from my savings account last month. My signature was at the bottom, but I'd never made that withdrawal. I'd never even been to the bank that day. This is impossible, I said. I would remember taking out this much money. Tyler pulled out his phone and showed me a video. It was security footage from inside a bank, showing a woman at the teller window. The woman looked exactly like me from behind, 2'10". Same height, same gray hair, same jacket I wore to church. But when she turned slightly, I could see it wasn't me at all. "Mom's been practicing your signature for months," Tyler said. "And Kevin's been coaching her on how to walk and move like you. They've been stealing from you, Grandpa, thousands and thousands of dollars." My hands were shaking as I looked through more papers. Credit cards opened in my name that I'd never applied for, loans I'd never taken out, even a second mortgage on my house that I knew nothing about. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "At least 8 months, Tyler said. "Maybe longer. I found records going back to last Christmas." Last Christmas. When Rebecca had insisted on helping me organize my finances because she was worried about me managing everything alone. When Kevin had offered to help me set up online banking to make things easier. They'd been so helpful, so caring. "There's more," Tyler said reluctantly. He pulled out a folder filled with printed emails. "I found these on Kevin's laptop when they left it here last week." The emails were between Rebecca and Kevin, discussing my money like it was already theirs. Kevin complaining about his business debts, and Rebecca assuring him that they'd have access to my account soon. Messages about forging documents and practicing signatures. Plans to sell my house and split the money. One email from Kevin made my blood run cold. "The old man trusts us completely. This is easier than I thought it would be." Rebecca's response: "Dad's always been gullible. He believes whatever I tell him." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. My own daughter, talking about me like I was some kind of mark in a con game. The daughter I'd raised alone after her mother died, who I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college, who I'd trusted with everything. "Tyler," I said, my voice cracking, "are you absolutely sure about this?" He nodded sadly. "I've been hoping I was wrong for weeks. I kept finding more evidence, but I kept thinking there had to be some explanation, some reason that would make it okay. But there isn't." "No, Grandpa, there isn't." I looked at the papers scattered across the table. Months of careful planning and theft. My daughter and her husband had been systematically robbing me while pretending to care about my welfare. "How much?" I asked. Tyler pulled out a calculator and a notebook where he'd been keeping track. "So far, about $200,000. "But Grandpa, that's not the worst part." My heart sank even further. "What's the worst part?" Tyler pulled out one more document, and his hands were shaking as he handed it to me. It was a life insurance policy in my name, with Rebecca listed as the beneficiary. A policy worth $500,000 that I'd never signed up for. "They're not just stealing from you," Tyler said quietly. "They're planning for you to die." The cabin suddenly felt very cold and very quiet. Outside, I could hear birds singing and wind rustling through the trees. Normal sounds from a normal world that suddenly didn't feel normal at all. My phone, which Tyler had turned back on, buzzed with another call from Rebecca. "Don't answer it," Tyler said quickly. But this time, I didn't want to. I stared at that life insurance policy until the words blurred together. $500,000. Rebecca would get $500,000 when I died, and I'd never signed anything agreeing to it. My signature was there at the bottom, but it looked different somehow, shakier than my usual writing. "Tyler," I said slowly, "show me that video again. The one from the bank." He pulled out his phone and replayed the security footage. This time I watched more carefully. The woman pretending to be me moved differently than I did. Her shoulders were straighter, her steps more confident. But she'd studied me well enough to fool a bank teller who didn't know me personally. "How many times have they done this?" I asked. "I found records of at least 12 different transactions," Tyler said, pulling out a notebook where he'd been tracking everything. "Always at banks across town where nobody knows you. Always for amounts just under $10,000, so they wouldn't trigger any federal reporting requirements." Smart. They'd been very smart about it, and I'd been very stupid. "The life insurance policy," I said, holding up the document. "When was this supposedly signed?" Tyler checked his notes. 3 months ago. The same day you went to Dr. Peterson for your annual checkup. I remembered that day clearly. Rebecca had insisted on driving me to the appointment, saying she wanted to talk to the doctor about my health. She'd waited in the car while I went inside, then suggested we stop for lunch afterward. We'd gone to that little diner downtown, and she'd been unusually chatty and affectionate. She must have taken me somewhere else after lunch, I realized. Somewhere I signed papers without knowing what they were. Or she forged it completely, Tyler said. Kevin's gotten really good at copying your signature. I found practice sheets in his handwriting, pages and pages of him writing your name. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text message from Rebecca. Dad, Tyler's phone is off and we're worried sick. Please call us immediately. Kevin thinks Tyler might be having some kind of breakdown. A breakdown, I said bitterly. They're already setting up the story. Tyler nodded grimly. I heard them talking about it last week. If anyone ever questioned what they were doing, they'd say I was a troubled teenager making up stories about them. Kevin even researched teenage mental health issues so he could describe symptoms. The betrayal cut deeper with every revelation. Not only had they been stealing from me, but they'd been planning to destroy Tyler's credibility if he ever discovered the truth. My grandson, who'd been brave enough to investigate and smart enough to gather evidence, and they were prepared to paint him as mentally unstable. There's something else, Tyler said hesitantly. Something I found yesterday that made me realize we had to leave today. He pulled out a printed email dated just 2 days ago. It was from Kevin to someone named Martinez, and the subject line read, Timeline Update. The message was short but chilling. The old man's getting suspicious about the bank statements. Rebecca thinks he might start asking questions soon. We need to move up our schedule. Can you have everything ready by next week instead of next month? Martinez had replied, That's cutting it close, but doable. Just make sure you have the updated will ready. And remember, it has to look completely natural. I read the email 3 times before the full meaning sank in. They weren't just planning for me to die eventually. They were planning to kill me. Soon. Who's Martinez? I asked. Though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I think he's someone Kevin owes money to, Tyler said. I found other emails about Kevin's business debts. He's in deep trouble with some very bad people, and they're demanding payment. So they decided to cash in on their investment in me. Grandpa, I'm so sorry, Tyler said, and I could see tears in his eyes. I know how much you love Mom. I know how much this hurts. I reached over and squeezed his shoulder. You have nothing to apologize for, son. You saved my life. But even as I said it, I felt something breaking inside my chest. Rebecca had been the center of my world since her mother died when she was 12. I devoted my entire life to raising her, making sure she had everything she needed, supporting her through college, and her first marriage, and her divorce. When she'd married Kevin 3 years ago, I'd welcomed him into our family like a son. And all this time, they'd been planning to murder me for money. The basement, I said suddenly. Is that why Kevin was always so interested in the basement? Tyler nodded. I think they were planning to stage an accident. Make it look like you fell down the stairs and hit your head. Kevin kept asking about the lighting down there, and whether the steps were slippery. I remembered Kevin's helpful suggestions about installing better lighting in the basement, his concern about the old wooden steps being a safety hazard, his offer to put in a handrail for me. All of it had seemed so thoughtful, so caring. They've been studying this house like they were planning a heist, I said. Because they were, Tyler replied. A heist with murder. My phone rang again. This time it was Kevin calling. Without thinking, I almost answered it, but Tyler grabbed my wrist. Don't, he said urgently. Whatever you do, don't let them know where we are. But they're going to keep calling. They're going to get suspicious if I don't answer eventually. Let them get suspicious, Tyler said. We need time to figure out what to do with all this evidence. I looked at the papers spread across the table. Bank records, forged documents, emails, planning my death. It was overwhelming, but it was also proof, solid, undeniable proof of what Rebecca and Kevin had been doing. "We need to go to the police," I said. Tyler shook his head. "Not yet. There's something else you need to know first. Something about why they're so desperate for money right now." He pulled out one more folder, thicker than the others. "Kevin's not just in debt, Grandpa. He's in debt to people who kill other people for a living. And they've given him a deadline." "When?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "This weekend." The folder Tyler handed me was filled with printouts from Kevin's computer, and what I read made my blood turn to ice water. Kevin owed $300,000 to a man named Carlos Martinez, and the emails between them read like something out of a crime movie. Martinez wasn't just a loan shark. He was what the emails called an enforcer, for people who made very dangerous loans to very desperate people. And Kevin had borrowed money from these people to keep his failing construction business afloat. "Look at this one," Tyler said, pointing to an email from 2 weeks ago. Martinez had written, "Kevin, my patience is running out. You promised payment by the end of this month. If you don't have my money by Saturday, I'll have to take other measures to collect what you owe. And those measures won't be pleasant for you or your family." Kevin's response made me sick. "I understand completely. The old man's estate will cover everything, plus interest. Just give me until Sunday, and you'll have every penny." The old man's estate. He was talking about my death like it was a business transaction. "Tyler," I said, my voice shaking, "today is Thursday." "I know," he said quietly. "That's why we had to leave today. They're planning to kill you this weekend." I set the papers down because my hands were trembling too badly to hold them steady. My own daughter and her husband were planning to murder me in the next 3 days to pay off gambling debts to criminals. "There's more," Tyler said, pulling out another set of emails. "Look what Mom wrote to Kevin yesterday." Rebecca's message was typed in her usual cheerful tone, like she was planning a birthday party instead of a murder. "Honey, I talked to Dad about having a family dinner this Sunday. He's excited about it. I told him we'd cook his favorite meal and spend the whole day together. He even suggested we could look through old photo albums in the basement afterward." Kevin had replied, "Perfect. Martinez will be satisfied, and we can finally put this whole mess behind us. Make sure Tyler isn't there that day. Send him to a friend's house or something." They'd been planning to kill me during a family dinner. Rebecca was going to cook my favorite meal, and then they were going to murder me in my own basement while looking at family photos. The cruelty of it was almost worse than the murder itself. "How did you get into Kevin's computer?" I asked. "He left it here last week when they came for dinner," Tyler explained. "He forgot the password was written on a sticky note in his wallet, and he left his wallet on your kitchen counter when he went to the bathroom. I memorized the password and got into his email later." Smart boy. Braver than I'd ever been at his age. "Tyler, we have to call the police now," I said. "We can't wait any longer." But Tyler was shaking his head. "Grandpa, there's one more thing. Something that changes everything." He pulled out a final document, and this one was different from the others. It was a police report, dated 6 months ago, filed by Detective Morrison at the local police station. The report was about me. According to the document, Rebecca had filed a complaint claiming I was showing signs of dementia and had become paranoid and potentially violent. She'd told the police I'd been accusing family members of stealing from me and had threatened Kevin with a kitchen knife during an argument. None of that had ever happened. "She's been building a case against you for months," Tyler said, "making you look crazy so that if you ever tried to report what they were doing, nobody would believe you." I read through the police report in horror. Rebecca had given detailed examples of my supposed mental decline. She'd claimed I forgot conversations immediately after having them, that I'd accused the mailman of stealing my mail, and the grocery store clerk of shortchanging me, that I'd gotten lost driving to places I'd been going for decades. All lies. Carefully constructed lies. designed to make me look like a paranoid old man losing his mind. Detective Morrison believed her? I asked. Look at the bottom of the report, Tyler said. Morrison had written a note recommending that Rebecca consider having me evaluated for competency and possibly placed in a care facility for my own safety and the safety of others. They've been planning this for months, I realized. If the murder didn't work, they had a backup plan to have me declared incompetent and locked away. And once you were in a care facility, they'd have complete control of your finances, Tyler added. Either way, they get your money. My phone buzzed with another text from Rebecca. Dad, we're getting really worried. Tyler's been acting strange lately, and we think he might be filling your head with paranoid ideas. Please call us so we can come get you both and sort this out. Even now, even when their plan was falling apart, she was still trying to manipulate the situation, still trying to paint Tyler as the problem and herself as the concerned daughter. She's good at this, I said bitterly. She's had practice, Tyler replied. I found emails going back 2 years where she was researching elder abuse laws and how to get someone declared incompetent. This isn't something they decided to do recently. They've been planning it since before they even got married. The thought hit me like a physical blow. Rebecca had married Kevin specifically to help her steal from me and eventually kill me. Their entire relationship might have been built around planning my murder. Tyler, I said, I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there any chance at all, that you're wrong about this? He looked me straight in the eyes. Grandpa, I've been hoping I was wrong for weeks. I've checked and double-checked everything. I've looked for innocent explanations for all of it, but there aren't any. I believed him. Looking at all the evidence spread across that cabin table, there was no other explanation that made sense. What do we do now? I asked. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, We have to beat them at their own game. What do you mean? They think you're a confused old man and I'm a troubled teenager. They think they're smarter than us. Tyler's voice was getting stronger, more determined. But we have something they don't have. What's that? The truth. And a plan of our own. Tyler spread out a hand-drawn map of our town on the cabin table, with red X marks at several locations. He'd been planning this final confrontation just as carefully as Rebecca and Kevin had been planning my murder. Here's what we're going to do, Tyler said, his voice steady and determined. We're going back to the house tonight, but not the way they expect. Tyler, that's too dangerous, I protested. If they're planning to kill me this weekend, going back there is exactly what they want. No, Grandpa. Going back there scared and unprepared is what they want. But we're going back with evidence, witnesses, and a plan. He pulled out his phone and showed me a list of contacts he'd been building. I've already sent copies of everything to 3 different news reporters, the FBI field office in the state capitol, and a lawyer who specializes in elder abuse cases. If anything happens to us, all of this evidence gets released automatically. Smart boy. He'd learned from Rebecca and Kevin's playbook and improved on it. But first, Tyler continued, we're going to give them exactly what they think they want. A confused old man and his troubled grandson, walking right into their trap. I don't understand. Tyler grinned. And for the first time in days, he looked like the teenager he was supposed to be. We're going to let them try to kill you, Grandpa, and we're going to record every second of it. The plan Tyler had worked out was brilliant in its simplicity. We would return to the house and act like nothing had happened. I would pretend to be confused about why we'd left, maybe even apologize for Tyler's strange behavior. Rebecca and Kevin would think their plan was back on track, but this time, we'd be ready for them. Tyler had hidden tiny cameras throughout the house weeks ago, including several in the basement where they planned to stage my accident. He'd also arranged for Detective Morrison to receive an anonymous tip about suspicious activity at my house. Time to arrive just as Rebecca and Kevin were making their move. The beauty of it, Tyler explained, is that they've already told everyone I'm mentally unstable, and you're getting paranoid. So when we show up acting normal, they'll think they've convinced us we were wrong about everything. We waited until sunset, then made our way back through the woods. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away, but Tyler kept me calm with quiet reassurances. Remember, he whispered as we approached the house, you're confused about why we left. You think maybe you did imagine some of the things you thought you saw. You're embarrassed and want to make things right with Rebecca. The hardest part was walking through my own front door, knowing that my daughter was planning to kill me. But when I saw Rebecca's face light up with relief and fake concern, I managed to play my part. "Dad!" she exclaimed, rushing to hug me. "We were so worried. Where have you been?" "I'm not really sure," I said, letting confusion creep into my voice. "Tyler said we needed to leave, but now I can't remember why. I think I might have gotten mixed up about something." Rebecca shot a quick look at Kevin, and I saw satisfaction flash across both their faces. Their confused old man was back, right on schedule. "It's okay, Dad," Rebecca said soothingly. "Tyler's been under a lot of stress lately. Sometimes teenagers get paranoid ideas, and they can be very convincing." Tyler played his part perfectly, acting sullen and embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Grandpa. I guess I overreacted to some stuff I found in the basement. It probably wasn't as bad as I thought." "What kind of stuff?" Kevin asked, trying to sound casual. "Just some old papers and bank statements," Tyler mumbled. I thought they meant something, but I probably misunderstood. I watched Rebecca and Kevin exchange another look. They thought they'd won. "Well," Rebecca said brightly, "why don't we all have dinner together tomorrow night? I'll cook your favorite pot roast, Dad, and we can put this whole misunderstanding behind us." "That sounds wonderful," I said. "It's been too long since we had a real family dinner." "Perfect," Kevin said. "And afterward maybe we could look through some of those old photo albums you keep in the basement. I'd love to hear more stories about the family history." There it was, the invitation to my own murder, delivered with a smile. We spent the evening acting like a normal family. Rebecca fussed over me, making sure I was comfortable and asking about my health. Kevin was unusually friendly, even offering to help me organize some paperwork in my study. Tyler continued to act like a chastened teenager who'd learned his lesson about jumping to conclusions. But all the while, Tyler's hidden cameras were recording everything. And when Rebecca and Kevin thought we couldn't hear them, they had whispered conversations about tomorrow night and making sure it looks natural. The next evening, Rebecca arrived early to start cooking. The smell of pot roast filled the house, and she chattered cheerfully about family memories and how glad she was that we'd worked everything out. Kevin showed up just as dinner was ready, carrying a bottle of wine and acting like the perfect son-in-law. During dinner, he kept steering the conversation toward the basement and those photo albums. "I really think it would be nice to go through some of those old pictures," he said. "Tyler might enjoy seeing photos of his mom when she was young." "That's a wonderful idea," I agreed. "I have boxes and boxes of photos down there. We could spend hours looking through them." After dinner, Rebecca suggested we all go downstairs together. "It'll be like a treasure hunt," she said. "Dad has so many memories stored down there." As we headed toward the basement stairs, Tyler caught my eye and nodded slightly. Everything was in place. "After you, Dad," Kevin said politely, gesturing toward the stairs. I started down the wooden steps, Rebecca and Kevin close behind me, Tyler bringing up the rear. The basement was dimly lit, just as Kevin had always complained about. Halfway down the stairs, Kevin made his move. I felt his hand on my back, pushing hard. But instead of falling forward to my death, I grabbed the handrail Tyler had secretly reinforced and spun around to face them. "Did you really think I was that stupid?" I asked. The look of shock on Rebecca's face was almost worth everything I'd been through. "Dad, what are you?" she started to say. "The police are already on their way," Tyler announced from the top of the stairs. "And everything you just did is on camera." Kevin lunged toward Tyler, But Detective Morrison's voice boomed from the basement entrance. "Police! Nobody move!" As the handcuffs clicked around Rebecca's wrists, she looked at me with pure hatred. "You stupid old man," she snarled. "You have no idea what you've done." "I know exactly what I've done," I replied. "I've stopped my daughter from becoming a murderer." The truth had won, and Tyler and I were finally safe.